Good morning, my friends. Ohayo gozaimasu. Konnichiwa. So, something very, very interesting happened to me this morning. I've been driving since an hour from Gold Coast to Brisbane, and on the way, I decided to listen to a podcast first. And I thought I'd put something easy because I've been doing Japanese for about 5 days in a row. So I thought I'd put on a English podcast by Modern Wisdom. By the way, shout out to Corey for recommending me this podcast. It's a very, very good one. However, after 3 minutes, my brain was screaming to me, what is this? Why are you listening to Japanese? Not listening to Japanese. I want to listen to something Japanese. This is some English rubbish. Basically, my brains got used to being fed with Japanese language box. And because of that, it felt uncomfortable listening actually to English language. I was pleasantly surprised. This hasn't happened to me for a long time. I think last time this happened to me was when I was learning English when I was 19 years old. I was in Finland, and I was surviving in Finland because everyone else speaking English perfectly, and I had zero English language. So I had to survive for my trips, and I started learning Finnish version of the English. So I still sounds a bit slightly like somebody from Nordic country because of the accent they have there. Well, doesn't matter. So, but I'm pleasantly surprised. So I switched back to my favorite singer, and her name is Hima. Hima Covers is the channel name. I will shout out to her here. Hopefully one day I can attend her concert in Tokyo. It's a young lady who has an amazing voice, absolutely amazing voice. Her music is amazing for learning Japanese because she sings 1980s love songs from Japan. And she does all the covers for those, and they are usually slower, very melodic, and most important, she has incredible pronunciation. Her Japanese pronunciation is so perfect, on point. So it's very easy to imitate and shadow her, even though I have an absolute worst singing voice of all time. But still, it was a very good tool to learn Japanese through immersion. Now, here's the one thing I want to point out about the immersion program, all my friends are doing now, and including my son, is that we all have our preferences. There's no such thing as the perfect immersion program for everybody. So immersion is all about get your brain getting used to the language, get yourself into the mode of survival mode. It's basically your brain must be tricked into thinking that I must master this language now, otherwise I will be hungry. Otherwise I'll be living on the road. Otherwise I'll be an outcast of the society. And the only way to trick your brain into that mode is by being exposed to that particular language 24/7. And in no time, your brain will start think in the same language, will start try to figure out everybody else's messages in that language. That is the fastest possible way to acquire a language. Not learning a language, but acquire a language. Acquisition is a completely different mode than language learning. And I'm actually very glad that my son has chosen Pokemon as his immersion program, because Pokemon is age appropriate and it's of his interest. And most important is it doesn't matter how much Japanese he learned in the process, he acquired additional content in the Pokemon universe. And my friend Corey, for example, likes Japanese rap, and he probably listened to a lot of rap songs because that's age appropriate, is part of his interest. He lives in a very trendy area, Shimokita, Zawa, and those places have different trend and music tastes, and the language, maybe the subculture is completely different. So he has his own personal immersion program. And I myself, because I'm old, I'm senile, more or less, so I'm immersing myself into the 1980s Japanese music. It has a little bit of nostalgic experience in it, because as a child, my parents actually from time to time listened to some Japanese pop music in the 80s. So that probably sealed into my brain when I was young. And and there was some very famous Japanese soap operas back then in the 80s that was very popular among Asian crowd. So that is one of those things that probably triggered me to like music style like what Hima is singing. And also my main immersion program is actually travel videos, because one of the purpose learning this language for me is to travel and to identify right investment opportunities in Japanese real estate market. And that will involve a lot of traveling and local knowledges. And those travel videos helps me greatly understand the cultural differences, the customs, the behaviors, the micro gestures, the body languages. All these things are incredibly valuable. I also like to use walking videos to learn about the areas I want to invest in. So some of the videos don't have speaking language, but they're still very interesting. It gives you a different perspective. I see if I can blend in some of those things while I'm creating this video here. So all in all, I'm very happy and pleasantly surprised that after only 5-6 days full Japanese immersion program, my brain is starting to crave Japanese content. Initially, it was basically the feeling of drowning, and the standard response by a brain when you're drowning in language is, get me out of here, I don't want this. But once you overcome the initial stage of drowning feeling, it comes the feeling of familiarity. Basically, when I'm listening to a Japanese presentation by a traveler, I still do not understand 99% of what he says, but all the small items that he mentions, they're the same in all the hotels. They're starting to give you positive feedbacks, like the coffee machines, like those amenities, like ice candy. I don't know how to say it in Japanese intonation. Ice candy. I think that's how he says it. Every onsen has an ice candy bar for free. I didn't know that. Yeah. Or things like milk. They like to drink milk while sitting in the onsen. Gyunyu, I think is the pronunciation. Gyunyu. Yeah, milk. Maybe I'm wrong. This is out of memory. I still don't know how to spell it. I still don't know how to write it. Doesn't matter. So important is that my brain's getting used to it. I'm very happy about that. This is also improved dramatically my short-term and medium-term memory, because the brain is probably in the survival mode, when I'm doing shadowing, trying to reflect and repeat whatever I hear without understanding. So that involves a lot of ultra short-term memory. That's a very pleasant side effect as well. So all in all, I have nothing but positive reports about Japanese immersion for myself, and hopefully same is for everybody else. So for anyone who is listening to this and interested in learning Japanese language or any other languages, I highly recommend this method. That is if you don't have any tests to pass, of course. You're not under time pressure of learning vocabularies or have to pass the test of grammar and this kind of things. So full immersion is probably the best method. Get yourself as closely as possible to a native speaking level over a long period of time. All right. Matane, signing out. See you guys around. Bye-bye.